Croeso nôl, welcome back to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, of course, sponsored by the Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant. Instant reactions to a proper match, a proper good away match, Tim. I was following your videos from Valley Parade yesterday. Seemed like a cracking atmosphere.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. You know, it's nice to go back to those types of grounds, really. Obviously, large crowd again, probably because of their upturn in results, as well as Hollywood FC being in town, probably, almost definitely. But it was really good day out, and a gritty, not pretty performance, really. So, yeah, a lot of people saying, oh, you know, we should be performing far, far better with the squad we've got, but doesn't always work that way. And I keep coming back to last season that we were spoiled last season. I think there's still a degree of expectation that it's going to be like that. And it's nowhere going to be anything like it. So, yeah, it was a good day out. Reasonable, happy with the way it panned out. And draw was a fair result, really.
I was in Sutton this weekend, and it's a far cry. No disrespect to Sutton, because obviously we play them on Tuesday, and you know they've done really well. But Valley Parade is a far cry from Gander Green Lane, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, there's no real comparison. It's great Wrexham are back, isn't it? I know Tim sort of mentioned it there, but when's the last time we played a league game in front of more than 20,000 people? Sheffield Wednesday, about 20 years ago.
Sheffield Wednesday, and then probably Man City before that.
Yeah. So, you know, that's proper. It just feels nice to be back. And yeah, I really enjoyed the game too. Cracking little atmosphere. You know, just a great all round. And what Tim's sort of saying, yeah, there's two schools of thought in that. It's the point is great, so shut up, don't mention the performance, and the performance isn't good enough. We only had one shot on target. We scored from it. The stats say that they gave us a bit of a battering when it probably was. I think it was an even match where I think even though they pressed us incredibly hard, and I didn't think they could really keep it up. And for parts of the second half, they didn't. But then as soon as we went ahead, almost they had to put the effort back in because there was no way that crowd was going to let them not get away with something from that game. So it was interesting. It was you know, the Bradford team really put a shift in. My mate, who can't get to a lot of games but knows his football, says Wrexham seem to have a lot of great players. They're just not in the right positions.
Liam, are you part of the happy clappy be grateful we're fourth brigade, the Rhys Williams School of Football, or are you following a different tack?
So when I watched the game via entirely legitimate means, obviously, and my immediate thoughts were slight frustration, just because I thought we, you know, particularly first half, we had the better of them, and there was a chance there to take all 3 points. But then you bring it back in the cold light of day, and you just say, you know, it sounds awful to say, but you know, just what a great experience just to be back at a ground like that's the first one I think where it really hits home. You know, we're back in business here, and if you'd asked any of us before the match, I don't think anyone would have balked at a point. It's that old adage that we went on about last season. You know, get 3 points at home, point on the road. You're not going to go too far wrong, especially in a division and with as many automatic promotion positions. So, yeah, overall, I'm pretty glass half full about it.
Lovely stuff. Andy, you mentioned there your Sage friend who's got some, he says we've got a lot of players, don't quite know what we're doing yet. Some players looking tired on Saturday. Do you think anyone's needing a break?
I think the natural thing for Parky, or what he wanted to do, was let Lee get his fifth booking and bring Davis in naturally. I wonder if he might have to change that a little bit now. Lee has been fantastic for us from the start of the season. I think his influence on games is waning a little bit. I wonder if the amount of work he puts in is catching up with him, because he is an all-action midfielder. Davis, Davies looks back to his best. He looks back to his old sort of ways. That I said last week. He does glide along the pitch. He can play a brilliant balls. Like the ball he played to Mendy in the second half was just fantastic. And it's great to have someone who can switch play like that. Now there was always this rumor that Parky towards the back end of last season didn't really play Davies much because he didn't think his work rate was high enough. Well, no one who saw that game yesterday could not tell me that Jordan Davies wasn't completely committed. I mean, he nearly headed something he shouldn't have gone anywhere near because he wanted to win the ball so much. He was all over he covered the area. He ran things down, and I'd look to see Jordan back in just to see what he can do against Sutton. But isn't it great that you've got two options there? So if Jordan starts and it doesn't quite work out, you've got Elliot Lee to bring on. And God Almighty, if you're a defender and you've spent 70 minutes defending Davies, and then you see a player of just as good, if not better, coming on, you think, oh well, fuck my life, basically. So yeah, but I think Davies certainly is pushing. I wonder if Mendy might come in on the left. I know it's a bit controversial, but McLean in places does look like a left winger playing a wing back.
What would you do then? Would you push McLean further up the pitch?
Maybe you bring Mendy in for a game on the left.
Just drop McLean.
Yeah, take him out of the firing line for a little bit. Okay. I mean, he's a great player. You can tell that.
Can he play somewhere else in this system we got? Do you think?
Well,
or can he only play left wing back?
I think he could play. He could play the left side of our midfield three, but then you've got Lee and you've got Davies there as well. So it's harder for him to get into that role.
Fair. Okay, interesting thoughts. We could see Jordan Davies in for Lee on Tuesday, or maybe we could see Lee getting his 5th booking on Tuesday. Who knows? Tim, we mentioned on the podcast last week about Stephen Fletcher. Stephen Fletcher. Can that work?
No.
Stephen Fletcher. So he actually started. What didn't play his super sub role? Did it work?
Nope. No, in a nutshell. I mean, he sort of flung himself about a bit. I mean, we fed off scraps for large portions of that game. Managed to get on the end of a couple, but sort of pulled one shot quite far wide. Was disappointed with himself, and obviously landed awkwardly later on in the game. I mean, the argument is that he's been asked to do what Palmer's been doing so effectively so far this season, which is grinding down the opposition and trying to see if Mullen can pick up the sort of knockdowns from there. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't quite work out for me personally, but I think you got to. I know Parky's trying to manage all these little niggles because I know obviously Palmer's had knee injuries, Fletcher's had fluid drained off a knee as well, so he's trying to interchange them as best as he can at this point. But I think for me, we all know that Fletcher at the moment has been very, very, very effective off the bench, and based on Saturday was least effective starting. So I think you have to revert back to the way it was before Saturday.
Yeah, possible. Food for thought, certainly. Look, quickly, Liam, Paul Mullin, hard to tell, I suppose, watching. I don't think you get the full Paul Mullin experience unless you're there in the flesh and see the work that he does. But is he starting to look back to his best, I think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's had a couple of chances the game before where I thought he should have taken them, but on Saturday, I thought he looked back to his best. I don't think there was much else he could have done to affect the game that he didn't. That header was really, really well taken, and the cross in the build-up from Ryan Barnett, really, really decent. I think if we can get more balls into the box like that, our strikers will eat them up all day long. So I think he's due a game where he gets 2 or maybe even 3, and then people will stop sort of worrying, is he back to his best? That type of thing. He was never going to be straight back into it full froth. But I think he's more than acquitted himself well since he's come back in. So all looking good for Mr. Moles.
Oh, sorry. One thing I would say about Mullin, he got booked really early, which sort of stunts Mullin's game a little bit. So maybe he was sort of thinking, thinking, had that on the back of his mind. I think
lucky to stay on. What did you think?
To me, it looked like a yellow, nothing more. But we were quite far away from it. I was more worried when he went into the hoardings. But in pure Paul Mullins style, he probably thought, you know what, we're under the cosh here a little bit. We need a breather. I'll stay down for a bit. But he's good. He's good at game management, stuff like that. I think Saturday was very much. It was they pressed us so much that we couldn't really break free, and I don't think we've got the balance right in midfield to break free from that press at the moment. You almost need like a Fowler. I mean, remember what Nat Percival said last week, that he said Fowler said to him, whatever position I'm in, give me the ball and I will open things up. I will break the lines. And we don't have that player at the moment, I don't think. I think Lee's a forward thinker. Evans is very functional. And James Jones puts the effort in. But we do lack that sort of real playmaking midfielder who can sort of release the likes of Barnett to put that cross in to really break the press, I think. Because I think teams know that if they really press us high, they can get at us.
Yeah. Last word on the men's. Tim, Sam Dolby, contract extension. 1 year, yeah?
Yeah, so he'll be contracted for next season as well.
Happy with that?
Indifferent, I guess. I mean, I think you got to kind of forget that he's still only 23. He's still got a lot of progressing, a lot of learning to do. I think we've kind of seen the raw Sam Dalby at the moment, as opposed to the sort of fully fledged potential that Parky and the rest of the team in Southend before that seeing him. So he's had a bit of a sketchy start this season. Obviously, we saw what he could do off the bench last week against Salford. So yeah, I think again, it's one where you're building for the here and now, but obviously looking as we go up the leagues, he is one of those players that the club are hoping will develop and flourish. And so why not? The potential is there with him, and I think it's important not to allow a sort of an indifferent start to the season for him to cloud that judgment. So I think, tie down the young players, and everybody has been saying Aaron Hayden hopefully will be next to be pinned down to a longer deal. So fingers crossed.
Let's hope so, and let's hope it's a smart bit of business. Good to have Sam on for another year. Right, on to Wrexham women. 2-1 win at Aberystwyth to maintain their impressive start to life in the Adran Premier League. The goals today were from Rebecca Pritchard and, of course, Rosie Hughes. And it's actually, Tim, I saw you said a 99th goal for Wrexham. Good effort. And we're the first team to beat Aberystwyth this season. So
she could. Well, I think she was due to have. She thought she had 100th, but I think it was chalked offside. I can't remember now.
Oh, really?
Is that 99 in about 40 games?
Yeah,
the
something
goal
like
record
that.
seems nuts.
It's probably 99 in about 25 games. It's bonkers, isn't it? I mean, it's work, life, poverty, taxes, and Rosie Hughes scoring an obscene amount of goals for Wrexham in their life certainties, it would seem. But yeah, great achievement for them. And they just really acquitted themselves really well to the top flight, and going semi-pro was certainly justified with how they're performing and how they're progressing that division. They've taken to like a duck to water. So be interesting to see where they end up this season.
Yeah, it will, but they seem to have started really, really well. Long may it continue. Right, we'll take not really a break, an extended break from us. Later on in the podcast, we'll be previewing Wrexham's next two games this week, of course. But first, Andy, you caught up with another former player recently, another really good talker to rival Nathaniel Knight Percival. Thank you very much, everyone, for all the feedback on that podcast. It seemed to go down really well. I'm glad that people enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking to him. This guest is not only a good talker, but is now apparently an actor. That shocked us too. Stay tuned to find out more. Here's Andy with him.
He was a hometown boy who became a promotion hero. Born in Zambia, he moved to Wrexham, aged 11, and turned out to be a real polymath. Not only could he play in almost any position on the pitch, but he could sing, he dances, he draws. He once took my LDT Vans program pen picks and made them much better, so he's also a better writer than me. Starting at Man City, he made 38 appearances before joining Wrexham and becoming a mainstay, especially in that 2002-3 promotion-winning side. In fact, his run of 140 appearances was only ended by a serious knee injury. But as many ex-pros run pubs or become an agent, this fellow's trajectory was a little bit different. Hopefully we'll hear about that. Welcome to the pod, Jim Whitley. How are you, mate?
Hello, Andy. Okay, mate. All good.
Yeah. Right off, first thing, is there anything you've
By
tried?
the way, that's an introduction and a half, by the way, that is.
Oh, don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
Love that. Go
Oh,
on,
no,
son.
we craft these, mate. I'm sure Jim Whitley could have done it a bit better, but, you know. First thing, is there anything you've tried and you just thought, nah, I'm shit at that. I can't do it.
I'm sure there's plenty along the way. But yeah, I think I just like new skills, anything that's a challenge. And obviously, as I think kids probably don't get this, but when you start new things, you are normally a bit shit at it, and it's just how you grasp it and how you can craft it to your own. And sometimes it doesn't work, but yeah, I do. That's probably why the things we're going to talk about are so eclectic, because it's not the norm really. But I do enjoy a challenge.
So I take it you play golf, you knit,
yes,
you're a great
yes.
driver.
I played. I did play golf. Actually, funny fact, the golf was my first sport when I was in Zambia.
Of course it was.
Yeah, it was. When we were in Zambia, so we were in school for 7 a.m, and we'd finish by 12:30. And then my dad ended up being a really avid golfer, and he would drop me off at the golf course in the afternoon because our school was finished by 12, and I would play golf in the afternoon. So I was playing off 10 when I was 10, and then I got it down. So I got it really down. So I do. If I could win the lottery tomorrow, I'd probably just go and play golf and just to turn pro, just for the hell of it, not to make any money, but just as a tick of a box.
Yeah, it was good travel. I mean, I was going to say, do you remember much about Zambia? But you know, obviously, you do. You remember the golf.
Yeah, because we traveled a lot, and then the schooling and everything. Yes, it was a different experience to hear, you know. And I do remember it was a different way of life. We had servants and guards and
wow,
pool and part of what the job my dad had. That's what came with the job. So it was always big bungalows, and we were targets for thieves. So thieves would always come trying to break in, and so it was different when I moved over to Wrexham originally, because you know we're in terraced houses and so it was a total different shock to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, look, we always like to think that Wrexham's a welcoming town. And if you come to Wrexham, I mean, bloody hell, there's a documentary called Welcome to Wrexham. But you know what I mean? We always like to think we're quite welcoming. Was that your experience moving across as was it 11, were you?
Yeah, I was 10, 11. I suppose I've not moved anywhere else, and that was going to be my home for the next foreseeable future. I didn't know how long it was going to be there. I was going to be there for. My dad sent me over for schooling apparently, but I was way ahead in my schooling on everything. But it was a weird one because yes, I was welcomed, probably because I ended up being good mates with Robbie Savage. Yeah, and he'd signed for United, and he was a bit of the golden boy at school. Kids kind of left me alone with that, but as every school, you know, because of my color of my skin, he did have a little bit of trouble now and again, but it's part and parcel. And funny enough, when I was in Zambia, because my dad's white, and my dad used to pick me up from school, and my school was predominantly black school, I used to get called white names, which is ridiculous.
You can't win, Jim.
No, so I was kind of used to it, but you know what, I can't recall having a bad time in Wrexham. I had a good time, met a lot of people, and playing football in particular was a big learning curve. I never actually thought I'll play football. It was just something I really liked doing, and I got really good at it.
Did you play football in Zambia? Did you always know you had that sort of
No,
that sort of skill?
no, we didn't play football in Zambia. I played probably every other sport, from rugby to every athletic game, going to squash, badminton, but football we didn't play. There were kids that you'd see playing around with little tiny balls, rubber bands and stuff like that. But I was playing golf. I was in a different sport. So no, I didn't play golf. So it was only when I came and when I came to Wrexham and it started going dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I didn't know where to go, golf clubs, and no one else played golf. So the tops went down at school lights, any street lights, and you just kicked the ball. And that's just ended up what I ended up doing.
I mean, yeah. Talk about Sav a little bit. Was he was in the same year as you? Was he?
Yeah.
And obviously he was a really good footballer. Did he sort of introduce you to the game and sort of take you under the wing in that sort of way? Or?
Yeah. He became good mates with me. I don't really know why, because I'd come from this kind of a background of big houses and pool, and I didn't have that in Wrexham. I moved to a totally different place in Wrexham, and by the time my dad came over, in fact, we were in this kind of council estate, and Sav would walk past the school and come pick me up. I say pick me up. He'd come call for me, and we'd walk down together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Knock on the door, and we'd walk together. But I was quite good at school, so he used to like copying my work. But we'd go playing football together, and I was way behind him for playing football. But we just had a good gel together, and we'd play at any time. We'd kick balls together, and he was incredible at the time playing football. I can't tell you how good he was. He'd go past 6, 7 players with ease, even though he's never known for that as his professional career got hold. He was known as this tough tackling midfielder, which he never ever was. He was never a tough tackling midfielder, not even tough, to put it mildly. But he was great, and we just had this bond from probably 11 up to 16. And then, by the end, I signed for City, and he was at United. But he was much loved by a lot of the teachers, and he was a good guy to be around.
When did the hair start growing long? Was that a thing that happened?
He always had it long. From when I met him, it was long. It was always long. He always flicked it over any mirror he went past.
Curtains back then,
curtains. Mate. Yeah, that's curtains. But then the hairstyles then started changing, but he always had it long. Always straight. And then the curls came in, and he liked these long locks. But yeah, he did always have it long. He went short for a bit, which looked weird, but he obviously went back to the long. He's never changed.
No, I don't think he ever will now. That's his trademark. Now,
absolutely.
I was talking. I was going up on the train to Stockport on Saturday, and there was a couple of lads who popped on the train. One lad was a couple of years ahead of you in school. It was Bryn Allen, wasn't it?
Bryn Allen, yes, I know Bryn Allen.
He said you were never really known for football in school. You were always known as the artist.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, he said he didn't even know you played football until.
Yeah, listen, I got into this. I ended up getting the school team because I was quick. I wasn't. There was kids in there that signed for different teams, and even when I went to, I played for local teams. There was kids there that were far better. So no, and in fact, my PE teacher said I'd make a better rugby player because I used to play rugby, get the ball, run, go past players, and that was it. So no, that's surprising. I did like my. There was a guy there called Dale Hughes who was unbelievable at artwork, and I suppose he was my level that I wanted to catch. So that's interesting. He said that. Yeah, my artwork. Wow. But yeah, no, the football came really late. I was kind of a nobody until then. I just snuck in back door, really.
So yeah, take us through that. I mean, you signed straight for Man City. Was there ever a chance you would sign for Wrexham? I know what it's like back there. It depends on who your football team manager is and the links they have. And, sometimes it's not always Wrexham. Sometimes, they're a Man United fan or something like that. And that's where you get pushed towards. Was that the case with City?
I never had anything with Wrexham. And it was Shrewsbury that came in for me first.
Right.
And I went on trial to Shrewsbury. Somebody had come to watch me. And I went to Shrewsbury and I had a trial there, and they really liked me and they wanted to sign me. I was buzzing. It's like, I've never even thought I'd even be playing football. And as it happens, my sister lived in Manchester, and I told her, and she, believe it or not, just looked into the yellow pages and looked for a guy called Terry Fowler, who was the youth development officer. She found his number and she rang him up and said, "Look, my brother's going to sign for Shrewsbury. Would you like to look at him?" And they had a trials the following week, so he invited me over, and we had a 2-day trial, and I probably played about 30 minutes in 2 games, and I was on fire in those games, and I got signed a week after that for Manchester City from Shrewsbury. Just bonkers, absolute bonkers. I'm sure there's a lot of pupils or friends of mine there at the time that just thought, he's gone, how? You know, because you probably didn't see it coming. I was getting better, don't get me wrong. I was getting better. My confidence and everything. If there was a graph on a scale of how mine was a lot higher than everyone else. So it eventually kind of warranted. So I just didn't think, Manchester City was amazing.
I mean, they probably saw that though, don't they? They gauge potential, don't they? But where you are and where you could go to. They do it a lot more now, but I'm sure a good youth coach could have spotted it then, especially if you told your backstory that you'd only been playing football for a couple of years.
Yeah. I think it's just the work rate and everything else that went with it. But everything just, they say the football is you've got to be in the right place at the right time. I was lucky. Every touch I did was magnificent. Every ball I played, they kept. So it was only a 2-day trial, so I did well, and that is football for you. You win some, you lose some, and I hit it right at that right time.
What was your position there then? Was it?
So I played centre mid. Funny enough, I signed. So I played centre mid, got in as a centre mid. My first game for City, I played up front.
Right.
Just bizarre. I was like, up front? Why? You just watch me play centre mid, but that's football. They may see you in a different position, and I used to like to not dribble, but I had a turn of pace in midfield, I suppose, with the ball, and they maybe thought you could do that further upfield and maybe get goals. So it was an experimental period, and for a long time I really liked playing up front because I didn't know what I was doing. It's only actually when I didn't know what I was doing. No one could read me. It was only actually when I started getting coached and they wanted me to do certain things. I kind of lost my head. I didn't know what the hell I was doing in the end. So I ended up back into midfield. But just a weird merry-go-round because I started at left back when I was at Wrexham. So probably because the only position they can give me because I wasn't that good. And I kind of then progressed through kind of the ranks and in the midfield. So
let's sort of touch on Wrexham and how you sign now. Just to go back for at City, debut at 22, so a little bit late maybe. I know you struggle with injuries quite a bit. I mean, obviously putting your body through that rigor, if you're not used to it, it is gonna catch up with you a little bit.
But also Manchester City were in a stage where they got rid of managers every year, relentless managers. And when you're a youngster coming through, all managers want to look at is who they can use in the first team. So they look at who's previously played. If you've not played in the first team, you kind of push to one side. And so a lot of the time I got into the reserves, started doing well, manager gets sacked, a new manager would come in, you're at the reserves because they needed to look at ex-first teamers. And it just took a while, and I was playing well at the time, and I remember going to it was Frank Clark, and I asked to leave because I said I'm doing so well, but I'm not progressing, and it was probably that little push that he then offered me a new contract. I thought, well, okay, that's a bit weird, and shortly after that, I got my debut.
Just incredible. 38 appearances over a long sort of period. What sort of made you sort of think, you know what, I need to sort of maybe move on a little bit now to really sort of nail down a career?
Well, I made my debut and I was brilliant at the beginning of it. I'll be honest with you. I was young player of the year at Manchester City that year. And I went from playing regularly to being dropped. But I did have a hamstring injury, which kept me out. I'd probably say 2 years trying to come back.
Oh wow!
By this time, when you're at a big club, they don't wait for you. There's probably another 2 players now that are brought in, and so my appearance is limited, and I'm a bit gutted with that because I probably deserved more than that from what I was doing. I was playing really well, and like I say, I'm on the. Even that as an accolade to be Young Player of the Year at Manchester City is phenomenal for me. Something I'll always take to my grave. So I should have played a lot more games. Should have played, but this is football and injuries. And I managed to have a long stint at Wrexham, but again, injuries were stopped to hampered me on that front as well. But looking back at it now, because of the injuries, I run around like a nutter now. I can kick balls no problem, which is maybe
Put them all out of the
served me
way.
well. Yeah,
Time for a comeback.
I'm running around now. I'm kicking more balls now than I did when I was 30. It's absolutely ridiculous. So maybe those injuries have helped the longevity of my of my legs.
Yeah, I mean, suppose, you probably only played about 220, 230 games overall,
Yeah.
something like that, first team. Yeah.
So when you look at it like that, I'm in good nick at the moment compared to some.
Right, come on, next 5 aside, you're on my team.
Absolutely, mate. No problem. I'll be there. I'm always up for a game.
So signing for Wrexham, I'm always interested in the mechanics of this. Did you have an agent at the time? I know Dennis Smith had just come in. He was looking at bringing people in to suit the way he wanted to play it. Did it come through your agent? Did you sort of have other offers and think, you know what, going sort of home, that might be a better option for me?
So what had happened was I'd been on loan to Norwich and I was going to sign for Norwich. We'd agreed terms at Norwich and it was more or less a done deal. I just hadn't signed the contract. And weeks before, just 3 or 4 weeks before, I thought I should have signed the contract by now. A new chairman had come in and they changed it. They were after different players. And so that fell through. And I eventually spoke to Flinny. It was Flinny who spoke to my agent. I did have an agent at the time. It was Brian Flynn who invited me. And I got there and again talked to him. We agreed terms. I thought, okay. And I know Darren Ferguson was there. I thought, actually, we could be going places here. And then he got sacked. And next thing, I didn't have a club in beginning of the season. I was like, this is weird. I was all about the agent saying, what the hell's happening? And of course, Dennis Smith came in and he must have known what had just happened with myself. And so he recontacted me and I went back. Not the same wages I was offered the first time round. But I thought, you know what, I just need to play. And I ended up playing. I signed for Wrexham. And again, that first season, I was player of the season, the first season. And I was speaking to my agent going, surely I've got to move from that because I was playing very, very well. And it's the times where you look back and think, what my agent didn't do what he probably signed up to. And so I didn't get moved, and I ended up saying, look, no, it's nothing against Wrexham. It's just as a footballer, you want to play at the highest level at the time.
I understand that. Yeah.
You know, that's just how it was, and I was playing really well. Wrexham at the time weren't the type of club who could then offer you a big contract. It's just wasn't how it worked, but I ended up staying, and I had some good times there.
Yeah, I mean, just look for the first season. Sort of when Dennis came in, there was a bit of an upturn in form. Obviously, you were playing centre mid then, I think, weren't you?
Yeah.
Did he put you right back for a
stint?
I
went full back. And tell you what, great position. I probably didn't like playing full back, but when I look at, so I used to drive an hour to Wrexham. I'd play midfield, often doing Darren Ferguson's running for him.
Yeah, someone has to.
Anyone else's. And I'd drive home, and when I used to get home, I'd probably struggle walking, going to my door. It's like that was every Saturday, even a midweek. I went to fullback, and I'd drive home, and I'd get out and probably sprint to the front door. I had that much energy. I thought, wow, if I had played fullback, because I was fit, but I wasn't doing the same amount of running as I was in midfield. And I just felt, I was like, wow. The lads used to call me, funny enough, because when I went to fullback, my kit wasn't dirty a lot of the time at the end of the game.
Right.
Because of just I'd gone from midfield to just like, oh, I can bring the ball down here. And they used to call me Rolls Royce for a bit because it was almost, my kit wasn't dirty. I'd bring the ball down in the 6-yard box or something because I knew no one's behind me. So it was a nice position. And he gave me that opportunity. And but I would have played anyway. Do you know what I mean? When you're in the first team, you play whatever just to do a job for the team.
So centre mid, that's the hardest position to play, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. Well, for the people who don't know, Colin Bell used to tell me, Colin Bell, who's arguably one of the best players in Manchester City, yes. He always used to say to me when I was 15, when I was just signed, he said the engine room is the midfield is what they call the engine room.
Yeah.
It's what ticks everything. When everything's going well, no one looks in the engine room. Everything ticks. It's when things go wrong that's when you end up opening the boot and having a look bonnet and having a look and you know what's happening. But the engine room is the toughest. Box to box. Back then, that was your role. You go box to box. You help out anyone that needs help. And so yes, physically, it was the hardest position. And often when you go on any runs, midfielders were the best runners. It's just as it was. Maybe a bit different now because of interchanging positions. You need to know how to play in different positions. But back then, midfielders always the fittest.
So, just looking at that season, I know things were starting to go wrong off the field. I don't know how insulated or how much you knew about that, but there was a chairman, Price Griffiths, who'd been there for ages. There was a sort of a changing of the baton. We didn't really. I'm trying to get the chronology on this right, but we didn't really know who we were selling to. There was a few sort of suitors. It ended up a relegation. Relegation was actually confirmed with a 5-0 win against Cambridge, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, didn't Lee Jones get all 5 of them?
Yeah, he scored. Did he get all 5?
I think he did. I can remember.
He was on fire because I remember him coming and he just kept scoring. Yes,
I can remember.
Yeah, it was a bad season. Yeah, I mean, we knew there was stuff happening in the background. Obviously, it went to possibly the wrong person in the end.
Yeah, I don't think there's possibly a bad itchy. I'm good.
Oh dear, and that's when it, things were going wrong. But it's actually when it changed hands for us. That's when it became a reality because we stopped getting paid. You'd wait for 2, 3 months, 4 months before you got paid. The PFA would step in and help out whenever they could, but it was just a bad time in football. It's a terrible, terrible time to play football because ultimately you're there to show off your skills to the fans and you're there to try and do as well as you can. But when there's things lurking in the background and taking hold, that becomes quite difficult. And fans often don't know that. But yeah, that was a difficult time at Wrexham. Very difficult.
I mean, I know you said that you were perhaps looking to see if there was anything available. I mean, in the end, you didn't move on. The next season, you come in. We're actually in League 2, or what is League 2 now? The probably Division 3 there. I think it was probably called. Did you look around at that sort of pre-season and think, we could go up here? There's enough here.
Yeah, because I travelled to a few clubs on loan, and you get to know a dressing room. Normally, when you walk into dressing room, over experience, you begin to know what's a good dressing room, what's a bad dressing room. When I say a bad dressing room, it could just be a load of bad eggs who have other things on their mind. It could be bad dressing room because they don't like the manager, but they could have a lot of skill in them. Players often dictate who they want as managers. They might give 90% instead of 100% because they want the manager to go. And watching that team progress and watching them on a skill level, I used to think, this is a good team. They had a good balance of players, some older, some younger, good experience. And ultimately, you do need that whenever you're going for promotion or anything like that. Like some Leo Trundle that we're playing. You just think, how the hell is he here?
Yeah.
So unbelievably skillful players. And yes, it was some very good players in there. Very good.
I just want to ask you about one. Andy Morel, what the hell happened to him that pre-season? He'd been around the club for probably about 4 or 5 years and, struggled to really nail down a place. And then all of a sudden, that season, he was on absolute fire. I think he got 34 goals, didn't he, by the end of it? And couldn't stop him.
Yeah. We worked a lot on... He was always a very good header of the ball. Very good header of the ball. He could jump. And so we started to play on that. Dennis Smith would use that a lot more. And I think because he was doing a lot of that, he got confident. He got some headers for goals, and just the way he played. But again, this is what I talk about luck in football. You have one season, you made a few million move out of that, and this is football. But yes, you think what's happened? He obviously got the service, the right players around him, the wingers to cross the balls, and Carlos Edwards, probably Hector Sam that was there that would feed balls to him. Trundle. It was just a good blend. I think Paul Edwards was playing as well at one point. He was again ripping. You'd find out what he was going to do, and he was just in the right place at the right time. So a bit of luck in football, that's how it is.
We do this thing on the podcast. It's called the Fearless Moment. It's a moment where maybe it's a moment that struck you that made you most proud to play for Wrexham. It could be a match. It could be in a single moment. It could be something that happens on and off the pitch. Is there anything that sort of springs to mind on that?
Well, probably one of my biggest memories. It was, and it's obviously it was a goal against Cambridge. I scored the left foot half volley, probably from about 25 yards. It had been taken from a corner. It got knocked out, and I came onto it. And first time, left foot. Yeah. Technique was out of this world. I'd
Even
hit
if
it,
you say for yourself.
It was because left footers, you swing at it, and I'd worked a lot at my left foot, and I hit that. That's one I remember personally for Wrexham. But there was a lot. The promotion was huge. Promotion. Oh no! I'll tell you one other moment. When we turned up, we needed to win the game, and Lee Trundle wasn't there because he'd been in trouble.
Yeah.
With police, and I remember thinking, "What? We need him." The dressing room was a bit like he was a big player for us, Lee Trundle. Just a monster up front, and I do remember that being a bit of a, oh my word, what has happened? As it happens, he was fine, and nothing happened with the allegations, and he went on to move. But those are the ones that are kind of sticking. If we hung around longer, probably more would come into my head. But and there's certain games that I played that I remember thinking, coming back from injury and stuff like that. But yeah, they're the main ones.
Well, what I want to do sort of quickly is, I know I sort of mentioned this at the top, that we once did program pen picks, which was you going through your teammates. You had a bit of a nickname, and then you had a little line about them. We never did it about the 2002-2003 team. Let's do it quickly now. You don't have to come up with nicknames, but just like a little. If there's a nickname that pops into your mind, that's fair enough. Let's just go through, because it's such an iconic team, and people love to reminisce about it. So first in goal, Andy Dibble. What a character he was.
Unbelievable character. Dibs I was with at Manchester City. We once did some running around the lake where he was so bad at the running, he jumped in the lake and swam across to the other. And next thing, we found him leading the race. We were like, what the hell? Dibs
We've had him on. We've had him on. He's nuts.
He's nuts. I think most goalkeepers are. Dibs was Dibs. Great pair of hands. And I think a massive stature when he came in at Wrexham.
Yeah. If we go through the back line, I think we've got Brian Carey sort of anchoring it in the centre. Bri must have been another part of your
Scary Carey. Carey, we called him. Yeah, he shouted at everyone. He looked like he wanted to kick. He wanted to fight everyone if it wasn't going right. But massive experience, been around, done it at United. Big man at the back, knew how to play, knew how to win the ball, would go through you if he needed to go through you. And you needed someone at the back, especially at that level. And he was fantastic. He was we had a little driving school, Brian Carey, Darren Ferguson, we'd all traveling together.
Yeah. What did you play when it was your turn? What was the music? Was it old fashioned Vegas show tunes or?
Yeah, no. Vegas show. I'd get caned if I tried to play Vegas show. Who was in charge of the music then? Probably Daz probably was in charge of the music, and we'd have all kinds of, from a bit of rap to anything loud. It was just something in the background that you needed. Different today. I think people played certain bits of music to ramp them up, but we just needed something in the background, and I think Daz was in charge of it back then.
Darren Ferguson, rap enthusiast. I wouldn't have put
Yeah,
that
yeah, a bit of everything. He had a bit of eclectic mix, but it was a bit more of a collective. If somebody wanted to chuck something in, they could do. You know, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just one person. That's a bit,
Yeah.
which is different.
So let's look at the back of that. It's because it was a 3-5-2, wasn't it? So I think mostly Steve Roberts played on the right that season. What was he like? He's another one. He's after your crown as Mr. Artistic, isn't he?
Yeah, he's into that at the moment, isn't he? He does quite a lot of that, actually. Yeah. No, Robert was very calm on the ball. And Dennis Lawrence turned him into a very good player, to be honest with you. He became quite pivotal, calm on the ball. He could ping a ball. Probably not the toughest, not like a Brian Carey. Brian Carey would go through a wall. He wasn't like that. But it was a nice blend with Bri and him together. A bit of a gentleman, to be honest with you. Lovely guy. You wouldn't think he played football. He was lovely, such a nice man. But good player. Yeah, good player.
Nice men can play football, Jim.
Absolutely, yes.
Right, left-hand side of that, big Den Lawrence.
Den Lawrence.
I've got a lot of time for Dennis. You know, there's a measure of a man.
Love Den. You know, with his height, everyone expected him to win balls, but he was still learning the game, and would use any time he could to improve in training, try and do bits extra. But Den was just one of those characters who were loved in the dressing room. Everyone loved Den, and he became a bit of a. I mean, he's now doing a lot on the coaching side, but he was when he spoke, you listened. I know there's a little Trinidadian twang, but whenever he spoke, he just had he made sense. And obviously Bri was probably the captain leader at the time, but Den was thereabouts. Or was it Darren Ferguson, the captain? But Den was.
Yeah, I think it was Bri most.
Bri, but Den was there as a leading figure.
Yeah,
fantastic. I can't speak highly enough of Big Den. Brilliant.
So his compatriot on the right, Carlos Edwards, who's a bit lucky to get in the team, actually, because you remember the first game of the season, Scunthorpe away, it was Wayne Phillips who'd been picked to play right wing back. Yeah, and then he got injured, and that really opened the door for Carlos. I tell you what, he did not let anyone down, did he?
Carlos, yeah, because in training sometimes he had this almost lazy way about him, and it took him a while to get into the first team because he didn't have that kind of work ethic. But I tell you what, once he got in, his pace was unbelievable. You never saw it because he was a bit lazy on that front. But once he knew he could use it, wow, Carlos was a different breed altogether. He was I could give him the ball and go and sit down for 5 minutes whilst he had it. He was a fantastic player, and he got his moves because of his play on the pitch. He was fantastic at the time for us. Fantastic, Carlos Edwards.
On the other side, another Edwards, Paul Edwards. This was a signing that came under the radar. I didn't know much about him, but he complemented the way that Dennis wanted to play well, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted the wingers, and Eddie was a different type of winger. I mean, technically, he probably wasn't the best at crossing the ball, but he would run at a player. I don't care who you were. He's running at you, and he would cause havoc. And he was a bit of these old school who would drive to the line and pull it back. And this is where the likes of Andy Morel and Neitron would know where he would go. He wasn't one who was going to hit it 50 yards to the back stick. You knew where he'd get. And so if you knew what your player was doing, it's happy days. And again, yes, you could give him the ball and you could have a breather with him. Both of them dangerous. Both wingers, old school, will run at your defender. Good players at the time. Brilliant.
Yeah. Did you have to, because those two were bombing on so much, did you have to sort of do much covering for them? Was that your sort of role in the team?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up running. Like I said, Daz was in there, so I ended up doing a lot of running for Daz. But back then, it was you almost took turns. If Daz had been on the run and I'm covering for him, by the time he's recovering to come back, if we attacked again, it might be me to go because he needs a breather. So it's just how it works in football. And if you've got that blend of going forward and back, then great. But he was obviously one who could pick a pass going forward, Darren Ferguson. He was very, very good at that. He didn't have any pace with it. So, we'd always back up if he was against someone, but it was just that great blend where you're having a team. You don't need the best players in the team all the time. If you've got a good blend together as a team, you'll go far.
Yeah, so Darren, I mean, obviously, what a left foot. I mean, you sort of think, should he be playing at a higher level? But you're right. I think it was the pace aspect that really,
that's
hurt him. Yeah,
without a doubt, it slowed him down. But vision-wise, and a lot of players can see things, and people talk about De Bruyne and what he sees on the pitch. There's a lot of players can see the same thing, but there's a difference in seeing the same thing and actually executing what you see.
Yeah.
At times I'd look up, I'd see a pass, and I think, I can't play that. I'm not good enough to play that into that little hole I can see. I'd love to. Whereas the De Bruyne's and Ferguson's actually could play that. And then there's also the belief that if it didn't get there, Darren Ferguson still thought, I'm still the best player here. It doesn't matter. So whereas another player, if you give it away, might be, oh dear,
the head might go a little bit.
Whereas Darren, he could give 10 passes away, give me the ball again. It didn't phase him one bit, and that's big to take on as a player. I mean, he was fantastic to play with in there.
In that engine room was obviously Darren, who were mainstays. Now there was Paul Barrett and Ozzy, Steve Thomas, who sort of failed a little bit.
Yes.
But the player who really came in and helped you towards the end was Scott Green.
Greeny.
Yeah.
Experience. Experience. So calm on the ball. There's a big difference. Slowing the pace down when it needs to. But again, he could put a foot in. Back in the day, if you're in midfield, you needed to be able to put a foot in. You need to look after yourself. And Scott Green had one of these faces that had been through the mill, a couple of teeth missing here and there. The Greeny, I love Greeny. Me and Greeny, great. So I can talk to him about this. But yes, he'd go through a brick wall, and if he's coming behind you, you need to watch it because you could be left hurt. But you needed it in midfield, and yes, he could pass a ball. The three of us in there with the experience, it worked very, very well, and it was a very good midfield. Obviously, the Aussie and Paul Barrett that came in would always bring in legs as well.
Help you out.
Yeah. Well, Aussie had fantastic technique in passing, so he brought something different in there as well. But a good blend of players, very good blend.
I know we've touched on them, but the front two are absolutely brilliant that season, weren't they? I mean, just Trundle, he can still do it now. I don't know if you saw he went across to America and did like a tour. You should get yourself on that.
I was probably too old. No, I saw that. I saw Truns. I remember
he looks
when I
a
first
beast
came to
as well. Have you seen how big he is?
Yeah, he's a beast. He's on the weights. He's definitely doing a bit in there, trying to impress his girlfriend. I think that's what he's doing. But no, I love Truns. But I do remember when I first went to Wrexham, just thinking, this guy's trying things that I've never seen being tried before on a pitch. And I used to think, how are you not at a higher level? Him and Hector Sam used to do things. I used to think, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing on a pitch? But Truns, wow, he could hold the ball up. He could hold 2 or 3 players off his back. Him with back to goal, is very dangerous. And he did that. And I knew what he was going to do because I'd seen it in training. And it was like, here it is. It's going to roll the ball here. It's going to little sidestep, whack it in. But it's his ability to hit the ball so hard with bend into the corner. He had no fear. I know that's because he came from non-league, because he never used to stretch. We'd go warm-ups. You never would. You just get a ball out and lash it straight into the net. I'd pull a muscle doing that. And that's just from the background he came in. But he's a phenomenal player. And then Andy Morel, he was a finisher, incredible finisher, and an exceptional header of the ball. Exceptional. And with the two of them, bring in your 2 wingers that like to get to the byline and cross it, get a Darren Ferguson that wants to feed little balls into it, it becomes quite dangerous. And with me and Greeny in there to pick up bits that went along and keep the pressure on it, it just had a lovely blend of players, and it just worked for that season.
You know what? It's still my favorite. I know we went up obviously last season with the likes of Mullin, but it's still my favorite team. It's still a team I sort of look back on and think you had everything.
Yeah, I look back and go that was it was a very good team all round, a very good team. No, I'm with you. It's good blend. We had the camaraderie. Dennis Smith had just come in. It was just everything was in the mix, and it worked well.
Yeah. I mean, we'll sort of gloss over the next season. You know, we come up, we're 13th. It's a blow losing Trundle and Morel because you have to sort of start again. One player who did come in, Chris Armstrong, was another Wrexham lad.
Yeah.
Did you know him at all? Did you? I know
No,
you
I
said you
didn't.
never played that much, but
No, I didn't know him at all, and he came to the ground and he showed signs of brilliance. But the problem is when you come from a bigger club, sometimes to motivate yourself at a lower club is quite difficult, and I think he found it quite tough at times to bring that form that he had from Spurs and wherever else he'd been. It was like, come on, Chris, you can do better than this. At times it was almost like, well, I can't. But he was again an experienced player, very experienced player. It was just he was at a big club, but
yeah,
when you had the Trons and Morels who were just knew each other well, the wingers knew each other well. It's hard to come in and pick up from how good they were. But yes, he came in, tried to do the job, and he did bits at times. And did Lee Jones come in at that point as well?
I think so. I think Jones was already in. I think he was there for
He's
the
already
season
in.
before because
That's
the
right.
strikers you had were Jonah, Hector, Sam. Who is every time we talk to someone about Hector, he's just nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, what he could have achieved if he actually wanted to, who knows? But you know,
Incredible talent. But you see it along the way. I saw it at 15, 16 kids at City. You think, oh my God, they are unbelievable. It just didn't go to fruition. But yeah, he had amazing talent. And yeah, it's sad that he didn't do more with it. But yes, so we had Chris Armstrong, like you said. Yes, he was there. Yeah, good lad though, very good lad.
yeah. I mean, my only other sort of question on that season, which you know, it wasn't a classic by anyone really. If you'd have kept Trundle and Morel, do you think you would have had a chance to kick on again and maybe try go for league? You know,
without
promotion?
a doubt.
Yeah,
Without a doubt. The highs from that promotion would have taken us through. Same team, without a doubt. They were huge. They were huge to us, and but as footballers go, you have to move on, go wherever you need to go. And so yeah, that was big blow.
yeah. So the season after, things are just still not great after the pitch. Injuries are starting to bite you a little bit.
Yeah.
You missed periods of the beginning of the season, a few weeks here, a few weeks there, when you've been ever present basically for so long.
Now,
and then on January the 25th, I think you have quite a big injury, and it puts you out for about 9 months. I think was it?
yeah, I pulled
knee
a
injury.
thigh. I think it was also yeah, of course the thigh. So first one was my thigh. I remember running my. It's like someone had shot me in my thigh. I just remember thinking, what the hell is that? And I pulled the muscle. And it's only over time that I realized that I took a long time. I got really bad scarring. So for anyone at home listening to this, is like, so I always say it's like an elastic band. If you cut the elastic band and replace it with a little bit of string, you can't pull the elastic band the same with that little piece of string in. And I used to get that kind of scarring, and it just took me a long time to get rid of that scarring so that it was nice and malleable and could pull like this. So the first one was the thigh, which just I was like, every time you come back, it was something. And then the knee injury. Yeah, I had a knee injury. I also I had an ankle. I had a surgery on my ankle. I can't remember when that was now in the timing, but the knee was bad. I had a microfracture, double microfracture done on my knee, which would eventually take me out of football. It was a very frustrating time coming back, knowing it's not quite right. But you can't tell the fans that when you're on the pitch.
No, I know.
90% here, you just want to play and think, come on, get past it. And it's the most. And I often talk to fans about this. I could probably say in my whole career, I could maybe say I was fit, fully fit. Maybe on one hand I could count that, possibly two. But when I say fully fit, where you're on the pitch and there's nothing wrong with you, you feel magic. But there's normally somebody stood on you in training, someone's giving you an elbow, you've had a dead leg or this, and you're just going onto the pitch going, I just need to warm up, run this off. And that happened the majority of games. Just part of football, going on and playing with a bit of pain or something. And so this was just another, I've had a knee injury. I'm like, just come on, let's run this off, because that's just what you always did.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately it was too much of a run. I couldn't run it off.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's the same in football now? Do you think that the science is so much better that they can sort of look at stuff like this, or
they'll look after him better? They'll look
Yeah.
after him better. You know, Wrexham, if you're half fit, you're playing. We'll strap you up, you're playing. We didn't have enough players there at the time. I think now, yeah, it's moved on. The kind of sponge and bucket has changed now. Get the sponge and bucket onto the knee, that'll be, that's changed. And there's a lot more in technology. So I think there's better ways now that people can look after themselves and get themselves fit. So, which is good for the player, I think.
Yeah.
And each individual heals differently. I find out mine just took a little bit longer than everyone else's.
Yeah. I know you were sort of injured for a lot of it, but there were some very interesting players coming through the door. I know what you sort of alluded to it there. I mean, Dennis was using every trick in the book to get people in. I want to talk about two sides even of a Spanish coin. On one side, we've got Juan Ugarte, and on the other side, we've got Xavi Valero. Do you remember him?
Xavi Valero?
Yeah.
No, I remember Juan Ugarte. Oh, the keeper.
Yeah, the keeper. He had about 2 games. I think he let in 5 in one, and then we got pulled off at half time.
Yeah, no, he doesn't stick to my mind that much, to be honest.
He sticks in my bloody mind, I'll be honest. But you remember Juan, yeah?
Juan was a wonderful finisher. I don't know where he got him from. I just remember him coming in going, wow, silky in the box. Yeah, he finished. He did well. The fans liked him, didn't they, Juan?
Oh yeah, I mean he scored a lot of goals, especially away from home. Well, what was he like to play with though? Because I can imagine he didn't really do a lot of running.
No, he didn't do much running, but that was his kind of game. Just leave me in the box, kind of thing, and I'll do bits in the box. Even today's game now, you need to be able to run. You need to work hard. But Juan, you made up with the goals. He wasn't running much. He was getting goals, and yeah, he was a big hit, Juan. Big hit, Juan. Yes, good lad.
Yeah. Another one who came in was Ben Foster. You probably never played with him just because you.
Yeah, I played with Ben Foster.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I played. I did. I remember playing. I remember thinking, what good hands he did. He stood out when he came for a cross. He didn't punch it or do anything. So he caught it, and I remember thinking, Jesus, no one does that. For somebody who had a shot, he would catch it, and it was like, wow, he was incredible. And I remember Darren Ferguson actually calling his dad up and saying, "You need to have a look at this kid." And as it happens, he did come and have a look at him, and that's where he went. But yeah, I did play with him. Wonderful goalkeeper, and just quite quickly you realised he was better than a lot we've had.
Yeah. What do you remember? Your memories of the LDT Vans Trophy? Because obviously it's still a big thing for us. It's a major trophy. I don't think you were fit to play.
No, I was I went with the team. I was there. We did a lot for the program. I did a lot of this stuff for it. So I was there with the team again. Yeah, I was gutted. I don't know what injury I had at the time, but yeah, I was there and joined in all the celebrations and everything. But yeah, couldn't play in that one. For a little knock, but yes, it was. Luckily enough for me, I was still part of the team. Someone like Manchester City, you probably wouldn't be part of the team at all when you go along. But I was lucky enough to still be part of it and go along and enjoy it.
Did you wear a big red curly wig like the like I remember? I can remember Carlos in one. I've seen Dennis Lawrence in one. Andy Holt.
Don't think I had one. Andy Holty, Coach Holty. Yes, we used to drive in together, Holty. Yes, no, I didn't have I probably because I didn't play. I didn't.
Right.
But it didn't warrant it, But I.
And also, it was ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yes, it did look ridiculous. But no, good times, very good times.
Right, we're going to go into the final season, and then we'll sort of talk about what you're doing now. I mean, to be honest, well, won the LDV Vans, first team to get a points deduction, went back down again to what is now League Two. You were very stop-start that season. I think the main injury, I might have got the time round slightly wrong here. I think that your main injury was against Rochdale in that January.
Because I didn't play much. Once I had my knee injury, I didn't play much. So yes, maybe my thigh injury is the one beforehand. That kept me out. But yeah, this was the knee, and it was just really bad. Going up and down stairs was sore. Pushing my clutch in was sore. I was just like, I was like, I can't get rid of this. And so I went and I went to see the consultant, and I had 2 spots on my knee that needed fixing. When it was called a microfracture, and I had a double microfracture. You only normally have one, but I had 2. I had this double microfracture, and I had to wear this brace, which meant I couldn't put weight on it, or I couldn't bend it. Normally, you have one or the other. And I tried to come back from this, and I swear to God, it felt like he'd left a drill bit in my knee. I was like, "What is that?" I was like, "What is that?" Of course, I went back, and he had a look at it, scanned it again, and he said the injury's healed up. He said I'd give it a 9 out of 10, but the drill where he'd bored into my knee, that had scarred really badly.
Right.
So
back to the scarring thing.
The scarring thing again, and I was like, "Jeez." So I was trying to get rid of some massage, just trying to get rid of, but the actual knee had healed so well. And so I was trying to get rid of that. And by this time, I think my contract had come to an end. Wrexham couldn't offer me anything to keep me at the club. And I kind of left the club.
No hard feelings there?
No, it's just my injuries. It's how it is. I just remember thinking, I couldn't even go to trial somewhere because my knee still wasn't right. I think maybe now, I don't know if they'd look after you a bit more. I don't know. At a big club, they would perhaps. But it's how it was. And then, I kind of fizzled out the game. I never actually retired. I just kind of fizzled out. And,
so were you fit again within like 6 months and just sort of
thought, probably. When I say fit again, I didn't bother running that much afterwards. I was like, I can't. I'd gone into a different mold in singing. I was happy not to have pain in the mornings when I used to, I told you about, we always have pain. You always train with something. Yeah. So it was quite nice not to have that. But no, the running only came in. Maybe I hated the game after that. I didn't like watching the game or anything. So I kind of just fizzled out that for about 4 or 5 years. And then my son was getting older, and I used to start playing with him. And by this time, I don't know how long, but my knee was great. And I started kicking the ball with him, and I just went from there. And like I said, now I do a lot of private coaching, and I'm kicking and running around. You'd never think a knee injury put me out. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. But I do know that's just how my body heals. But that's just how football goes. And injuries, I shouldn't have. I think I was 30, maybe 30 or 31.
31, I think you just turned 31. Yeah.
I still had more in the game. I still had more in the game because I was a fit lad. I still, even if I dropped back into fullback, I would have played for a long time. But that's how the cookie crumbles, and that's football for you.
So what is it like to retire at that age? Did you have a plan? I mean, you said you weren't really, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people, when they come out for a club, they better, right, I need to get back into it. But you say you didn't miss it.
Hated it when I came out. Different now. I've got my A for B badge. I'm looking to maybe get an A for A license, just for something to have. But at the time, normally I think as a footballer you would go back into the coaching and try and get back in, but I just didn't like it. I think just because of how we were treated, the money aspect, not getting paid and stuff like that, it all came back to me. And being injured, I've been injured too many times, and it kind of I just left the game. And so I went into a different mode, which was the singing route. Yeah. And look, and it sounds like a weird route to take, but as it happens, when we used to go to theatres or whatever, you perform in front of an audience. Now that could be a 7:30 show, just like a kickoff time, and I'd be with other people, and it was the camaraderie and stuff like that was very much like football, and it filled a void. I found I was like, oh, it's because to run out in front of the fans is a great thing. I can't tell you, people have turned up to watch you. So to do that on a theatre stage or whatever is just the same buzz. And I was like, oh wow, I've just replaced it with something else. That dopamine hit, come on, give it me. So that's the route I took, which didn't need my legs too much.
No, and is that something you're still doing?
Yeah, I still go tour around. In fact, I'm doing the Delphi Theatre in the West End at Christmas, which is probably my first West End credit.
Oh wow!
I've worked with West End singers many times, but to have to be actually in the West End is massive. After all these years, that's my first one. But yeah, I'm still doing. Obviously, COVID kicked in and killed a lot of work, but no, that's still going. So no, I still do that. But again, it's just that buzz in front of the audience. I can't help it. It's really, really good. So that's one of the things I'm still doing that has carried on from football. But I am doing a lot of private coaching. That's why I say my legs are great. A lot of one-on-one stuff. Team, I was at Macclesfield for a little short while. Still part and parcel of Macclesfield, but
and you've been brought in by Sav there, yeah. Sav
brought me in.
Yeah,
Sav brought me in. And that's again because of the amount of coaching I was doing. He brought me in. So I thoroughly enjoy the football side because I try and give players things that I used to do because I wasn't the most naturally talented footballer. So I try and give them whatever I used to do. And the most important thing in football is learning the basics. Once you have a lot of basics, so I always say learn the tools. Get as many tools as you can to go onto the pitch. The more tools you have at your disposal, the better player you'll be. As opposed to going, it's like getting a plumber going in with a hammer and a screwdriver to change a whole bathroom. There's only so far you'll go with that, Whereas if you've got all the tools, you've got a good chance of doing a good job in that bathroom. So that's what I try and instill in all the kids when I train. And so that's another aspect that I'm doing at the moment.
You say you've been doing a bit of filming. Can you say?
Yes, I can. I wasn't before, but yeah. So by hook, crook, and I don't know how else you can say it, but my sister used to write. She writes a lot for TV and various plays.
What a family this is.
Yeah, and she there's a program called Jamie Johnson, and they were after a woman black coach, who they couldn't find, and the producer was speaking to my sister, and she said, we can't find a coach, and my sister said, oh, it's a pity that because Jim might have auditioned. She said, why don't you get into audition? Of course, I auditioned, and I originally got the assistant role, so I was the assistant coach in Jamie Johnson, and just before kind of filming began, the main man who couldn't do it. I'll leave his name out just in case of any problems, but he couldn't do it for tax reasons. And they gave me the main role as the head coach. And so
thank you, HRMC.
Yeah. It all came to fruition. I can't lie, but I got the main job, and
I'm just looking it up now. Jim, it's been going for a bit, this, isn't it?
So Jim John's been going for about 8 seasons, but this is a spin-off now. So if you look onto the BBC iPlayer, there's a brand new show out, and there's a lot of promo just started for Jamie Johnson FC. In fact, when I finish this, I will send you a link, Andy, so you can see it. And so there's a whole new cast.
Yeah.
There's a whole new cast. It's out on October the 4th on CBBC, and whole new cast. It's a little spin-off, and Jamie Johnson's still in it, but it's a big show. We've already filmed the second season, but I've never done this before, so getting in front of camera was a whole new thing. Possibly one of the hardest things I've done, I'll be honest with you, learning lines and but this whole new I like saying I like new challenges. This was a whole new challenge, and I think I've done okay with it, so I'm looking forward to that coming out. So I'm going to be plugging that, and because I've been singing for years, and it's my job. how many people promote their job all the time? It's like I've been doing it so many times. I go to different theaters. I forget to put things on or ring my family. They come to watch. Just
Yeah.
whereas this is brand new. So I'm like, okay, I'm quite proud of this. If I was still doing this in 10 years, would I be plugging it? Probably not. But at the moment, yeah, it's quite big for me. This, so I'm really looking forward to it.
No, great. I'm just had a quick look now on Wikipedia. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be big. Well done. I didn't realize you were doing that. Adding another thing to your bow. God, I couldn't hate you anymore, Jim.
Well, one tries one's best, as they say, Andy.
No, we always finish on a quick fire, which is just 5 questions, whatever comes into your head. But just before we go, I just want to ask you about Jeff, because Jeff's like a big part of Wrexham story as well. You know, how is he? I mean, I've been reading up on him. He seems to be doing really well now.
Yeah, he's great. He works for the PFA and he looks after anyone with problems, addictions, or be it drugs or alcohol or even computer games. So, you know, some people get addicted to something for so long, and so he's there, someone to talk to on the mental health side as well. So he's doing a fantastic job at the PFA right now, and he's giving something back from because of his experiences in the game. So yeah, he's great, and he has got some stories to tell, by the way, in his football story.
we need to get
My Lord, I'm not sure if some can be aired on, but he has got some unbelievable stories. I mean, we always talk about football. There is so many funny stories that happen as part and parcel of it that we don't often touch on. But maybe do one of the an after hours one.
Like that Hollyoaks thing that used to come up. They used to have a normal Hollyoaks, and then we used to have
normal Hollyoaks. Yes. Slightly different one, risque one, should we say? But yeah, all good. So thanks for asking, and but he's great.
Oh no, like I say, he's a part of the Wrexham story, as you are. I mean, talking about the Wrexham story, what did you think when you sort of heard all this about?
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Just thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, they've put Wrexham on the global map. It's frightening. It's frightening. What's going on there? I wish I was part of it now. I mean, the money that's flying around is incredible, but just to have them at the helm is quite incredible, and I think they're doing a great job. I really do. Time will tell as how they go, but you need deep pockets to be a chairman. That's one thing.
I think they're doing all right there. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
So we like to finish on quick fire. So from your time at Wrexham, first person that sort of pops into your mind, who was the most skillful?
Probably Truns.
Yeah.
Ridiculous skills that he would pull out on the pitch. Never seen anyone try things like him.
Yeah. He's been answered a lot. Right. Worst dressed. I'm interested in this one.
Worst dress. Okay. Yeah. Hector Sam.
I've seen Dibble wear some.
Oh God, Dib's had some bad gear, I suppose. But yeah, I'll tell you what. There's a few up there. I'll be honest with you. But yeah, Hector, Dibs, Paul Barrett had some bad gear. Paul Barrett.
What a lovely lad he was, by the way.
He was a lovely lad. To be fair, Truns would come in the dodgy gear, but because he was Truns and could handle himself, he'd try and pull it off. But yeah, he would come in with the odd tight pants or something where you go, really? You would really, Truns? So yeah, no, there's a few up there, to be honest.
Who was the most underrated? Who didn't really get the plaudits that they should have?
Do you know what? We talked about Ozzy.
Yeah.
He could do things with the ball. Honestly, he just wasn't consistent. He did things. He could ping a ball like some out of the Prem. I do remember that. I'm thinking, Jesus, why aren't you playing more? And in fact, this is something I noticed from playing through the higher echelons from the Northern Ireland to Man Cities and coming down to Wrexham. I've even watching likes of Truns thinking, why aren't you playing? It always boiled down to the better players always gave you'd always get a 7 or 8 or 10 every week, regardless. That's how it worked out. Whereas when you drop down to that league, and even this is Truns as well, you'd be a 9 or 10 out of 10, and then you'd be a 4 out of 10, then you'd be a 6 out of 10, then a 4, then a 10 out of 10. And this is where a lot of players have failed. But Ozzy, for me, is one just straight off the bat at the moment. There's probably others I can think of, but he was a good player.
Yeah, I always thought with Steve that you could always tell by his first action in a game how the game was going to go.
Absolutely, which is true. Yes, if he had a good touch, you think he's going to play well. If he hasn't, it's the head's gone, and then that's unfortunately with football.
He's always chasing it. Yeah, they chase it a little bit, don't they? Because they want to do well, and they feel they're
almost do too much. But in training, he did some things. I was like, oh man. But yeah, I could have another think and give you some other names, but that's just the first one off the top of the head.
I think this is going to be a little bit more clear cut. Who is the biggest moaner?
Oh man, we have two. We have two, because I know I said Brian Carey, but Darren Ferguson could moan. Oh my lord! I mean, both great lads. We both drove in together. We went for beers together, but my lord, he could moan. Between the two of them, that honestly,
what a car journey that is. That's a moaning car journey in stereo.
Yeah, in stereo. But it was just on the pitch. On the pitch, they were relentless. They would call you every name, and if you hadn't pulling your weight, by the time you got to the car, they calmed down and you were fine. But they could moan. Them two were nearly at fisticuffs with each other, with Dennis Smith. This happened on so many occasions. But they're the biggest. They'll tell you straight if you're not playing well. No problem, no qualms. So yeah, those two.
Right, that leads into this one. So the last question is, which player would you least like to fight?
Oh, would I least like to fight? Yeah, probably Brian Carey, because he'd be one that you'd have to kill him, I think, because he'd just keep getting up. Scott Green as well. Yeah, I told you he was adorable. That was Scott Green. Horrible. So yeah, I'm back into the midfield, John, actually. But so they moaned, yeah. But yeah, Scott Green. Yeah, him and Bri were the hard ones in there. So one of them.
Jim, thank you so much for your time. Great to hear about your career and your new career. So we wish you good luck in that. So it's Jamie Johnston FC, isn't it? And it's on
that's going to be the news. I'm going to see it. Yes, on October the 4th. I'm going to start putting some things out on my socials, so you'll be able to see that for links, because, like I say, it's a brand new for me, so I'm happy about that.
Nice one. We'll put a link in the bio on this. Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks again to Jim Whitley for coming on. What an interesting chap, Andy.
Yeah, multifaceted. I sort of hate him, but I can't hate him because he's so nice and he's so good at. Yeah, he was great for us as well. But real shame that he retired. Probably, he retired too early, because there was a few more good years from Jim Whitley, a guy who could really play in any position, and I think he's probably a little bit underrated from what he gave to us for those seasons. Very, very steady Eddie.
Yes, indeed. Right, time to look ahead quickly. 2 games this week, as mentioned. Bottom of the league, Sutton arrive on Tuesday night. Liam, big opportunity there. Got to be putting these teams away, right?
Yeah, definitely. It goes back to that thing I was saying about if you can get 3 points in these games, and particularly against a side like Sutton, who are struggling up against it, then I think, these sort of the points on the road look decent. That's what pads it out. So, yeah, are we doing predictions yet, or am I jumping the gun there?
Jumping the gun. Let's do those.
Oh,
after.
sorry.
Let's just discuss.
I won't jump the gun. I won't jump the gun then. Yeah, I'm looking for. I've actually forgot that we had a Tuesday night game. Is it just me, or has it been a while since we had a home game under the lights?
I think it's been a while since there's been a Tuesday night league game. To be honest, it's been a good few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to last season where it seemed to be all the time. So I'm just looking forward to it from that perspective. Like Andy, I would sort of wonder whether we see Davis come in. I just think he's so positive, plays on the front foot all the time. Against that sort of team, if we get a couple of early goals, we could potentially be in for quite a high scoring game. So yeah, that's one consideration, I think. And then the Fletcher situation, do you go back to Palmer and Mullin? Probably, I think, would be for me.
And Tim, a return for Omari Patrick. Tell our new American fans about Omari Patrick.
Well, he was with us about, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. We had him on loan from Bradford City, of all clubs. And their manager at the time, I can't remember who it was, didn't really fancy him. So they loaned him out to Yeovil. I think then they loaned him out to us. And he ended up with 5 goals in 10 games for us. Pretty decent return, to be fair. Obviously, there's that much happened in the time since that I don't remember a great deal about him. I know he went on to play at Carlisle. So obviously he got moved into the Leeds. Yeah, very, very quick. So yeah, I mean, Sutton have certainly got a couple of dangerous players, him being one of them, because he's still, I think he's in his prime now. I think he's 26, something like that, 26, 27. So, he will want to come back and prove a little bit of a point as well. Because, let's face it, Sutton are currently kind of stinking out the league. They've got a really, really bad start. However, we can't take this game for granted either. We know that anybody can beat anybody on their day. Yes, we can. It's a lot of pressure, really. I just hope the lads can go out there and just play their normal game, have faith in themselves that it will come good, because we have tightened up a lot. So I can't see us shipping many, if any, goals. It's just about clicking going forward. Whether Luke Young comes back into the fold, because he was a glaring omission at Bradford. It's at the moment, Parky's got more questions than answers in terms of his overall team selection. We've still not seen the real Wrexham, if you like, yet. And obviously, a lot of early season injuries have disrupted our flow in regards to that. But
I don't know exactly what our starting 11 is quite yet, do we?
No, I don't think anybody.
But lads, didn't we have this last season? Weren't we 12 months ago having an emergency pod about our away form? And as soon as we had that pod, our away form was absolutely brilliant. I'm not saying
2 years ago.
Should we have an emergency podcast about our starting 11 then? And then
okay, emergency podcast called now. We need to sort out the starting 11.
Midweek.
Get everyone in the right place. Go for it, Parky. Okay, we've done that now. We've addressed it.
And also, so Andy, good time for you to come in on Notts County. That's a big game, right? Saturday. Are you off there?
I've got the ticket. Yeah, do you know how much it is for a train ticket from London to Nottingham? Have a guess.
77 quid.
Yeah, 75 quid. 75 quid. Wow. I hate it when you ask someone to guess and the person who guesses over what you were going to do, what you were going to say, thereby ruining the whole bloody.
Yeah. You told me how much you paid for it yesterday, so I just thought you set me up for it.
Oh no! Next time, Tim, come in and say 45 quid, and I'll say no, it's 75 quid.
I'm never going to say that. Do you know how much it's costing me to get back to Cardiff for the next Wales game? That's something like nearly 70 quid.
Well, it's probably
costing go via England to get there. So
12 hours, 150 notes, and a kidney.
Broken.
But all to see Wrexham stick 3 past Sam Slow coach, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, apparently not worried about their defense, right? Even though they're sitting pretty. So what are we gonna see? Is it gonna be an absolute goal fest, a bonanza,
or a 0-0?
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, not when I saw the Mansfield game, they cannot defend from corners or set plays. It seemed that way. So I think that's something that we can really look to make hay on, because we've got good set piece delivery. We've got big lads at the back and up front. So yeah, I think that's where we should be targeting them. But if we allow them to, they won't press us as hard as the other teams, but they will try and play away around us, and that's what we've got to ward against. Because I remember last season for half an hour we couldn't get the ball off them. Once we did. Once we started to go the other way, the way we had a lot of chances to at least get a draw from that. So I'm not overly sort of. I think we've got a chance, basically.
All right. Good. Glad to hear it. I feel convinced now. On that note, why don't we do?
Yeah, that wasn't very convincing.
I was so inspired by the end of that
today. Sorry. I'm like Phil Parkinson with 25 people in front of me. I've got like loads of words and I just can't put them together in the right place.
Shall we do predictions then? And Andy, why don't you go first, seeing as in you're such a rousing mood, such a wordsmith, and you're just raring to go. So give us your predictions for Tuesday and Saturday.
Right, I think it's going to be a 3-0 on Tuesday. I think we need to get back to Grimsby level of domination at home, and I think Sutton are really sort of down in the dumps and low on confidence, and we need to take advantage of that and start putting that goal difference in more in the plus column. I'd take a draw on Saturday. I think it will be 1 each. I think going away and getting a point at places like that, as Liam has said, will stand us in good stead. We are due a statement victory on the road. We haven't really had one yet, but I'm not sure that County will let us go there and win. So I think a draw would be a good result.
Liam, predictions?
I would love a nice, uneventful home game where we win 2-0. So just for wishful thinking's sake, I'm going for that. Away at Notts County, I can see a few goals in that game. Like Andy, I also think we're likely to draw. So I'll go 2 each.
Right, another 4 points for the week. Tim, do you share that general assessment?
Sort of. I'm going to go 4-1 against Sutton. Whether Big Arthur will be in goal, somebody on Twitter, forgive me, I can't remember who said it, but they seem to say that he was holding his groin. He might have tweaked it. That's why he wasn't maybe coming out for some of the crossing bombardment we were hit with in the game late on yesterday. So hopefully that's nothing too serious or there's nothing in it. But I think 4-1 against Sutton. I just think it's time to kind of get back to basics and play to our strengths in front of a decent home crowd as always. And Notts County, we haven't beaten them in a league in like forever. I know we beat them in the FA Trophy season before last, but I fancy us to finally usher in a cheeky league win at Meadow Lane. So I'm going to go 2-1 to us.
Ooh,
there's your statement win, along with a statement win at Crawley,
Come on, Reese, bring us crashing back down to earth. I'm sorry, I always knew we were going to win in Crawley. I said it, I knew it in my bones. I also thought Crawley were in a false position, and I've been proved right on both occasions.
Mystic Meg in the corner there. Why don't you just marry yourself?
Well, if it was legal, I would.
For me, generally agree. I think there'll be goals Tuesday night. I reckon it'll be 4-2. I think Sutton will score a couple. On Saturday, I think we'll also come away. Actually, no, I'm going to bring us crashing down to earth. I think Notts County are going to do us 2-1. Sorry, everyone. And on that bombshell.
Oh, thanks.
This is not Pravda. We're independent-minded people.
I reckon if me and Liam hadn't both gone for draws, Reese would have gone for a draw. That's what I reckon.
If he sussed me out as a contrarian. Okay, fine. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. We appreciate all of your support. Goodbye.
Take care.